Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm the gnarly gnome. This is Cincy Brewcast. It's the voice of Cincy Craft. I think we're on some kind of record for this season of shows in a row. I'm back at it full force. Every week it seems I've got a show scheduled, which is good. My wife hates it. Just got a text right now. She's like, are you going to be home by 5? No. No, I am not. I'm going to be drinking beer and talking about people that will hopefully be making us some beer very soon here, because we're coming at you from BCs in Liberty. BCs Bottle Lodge Brewing. What is this place? We need to know, because
the Lodge by BCs.
Yeah. Jeez, guys, it's been so long.
Has it? I didn't notice. It's been a while.
It's funny for me because I'm obviously not in the middle of it, because it's always longer than people expect it to be. But you guys might be setting a record for how long it takes to get this thing up and running. And
I don't even think we're doing it anymore.
You just changed your mind.
Yeah,
it's just gonna open up some kind of like a teriyaki chicken.
I was thinking coffee
to go
shop and
coffee shop
ice cream in the evening.
Oh, I'd come for both of those.
Right.
Let's run around the table. Everybody, introduce yourselves. Tell us what your favorite flavor of ice cream is.
I'll start. I'm Ryan, head brewer, and I'm gonna go with cookies and cream.
Okay.
Caleb, one of the owners. And
of the ice cream or of...
Yeah. Of cookies and cream. I think I just got to go with strawberry.
Strawberry's good.
Easy answer.
Really?
Yeah. I like strawberry ice cream.
That's your... Hey, I'm all for it.
Favorite of my 3-year-old, too.
I'm going to springboard off of that. I'm Brian, the B in BCs. And my favorite actually only comes around 3 months a year, and it's strawberry chocolate chip from Grater's.
I don't think I've ever had that.
It is.
That sounds really good. I have a problem. So I'm the gnome. Obviously, you guys know me, and I like the Grater's black raspberry chip. I'm very simple, but this
it starts in I think it's April. Goes April to June.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna put it on my calendar.
It's life changing.
I have a problem when I go to Grater's, though. Like, I see other flavors, and I'm like, that sounds really good. And then I see the black raspberry chip, and I'm like, nope, I gotta just get that. Mm-hmm. It's a real problem. So let's. I wanted to do that thing for the last. Well, I started it probably 10 episodes ago, where I would just ask people a random question when I introduced them on the show, just to like completely throw people off guard. What's your favorite color? What's your favorite movie? That kind of thing. And then I forgot to do it the last 5 episodes.
So ice cream was the catalyst.
Ice cream, yeah. I don't know why that's what popped into my head. I didn't plan it out.
Great.
So let's start with the very basic side of this. You guys, the last time you were on the show, we talked about this switch for BCs from the Bottle Lodge to Brewing Company. I don't know when we sat down and recorded that show.
It was a while ago.
It feels like it was like a decade ago, though.
It wasn't 10 years.
Well, when did we close? Whenever we closed Montgomery, it was a short time after that, or short time before that?
Yeah, it was probably right. It was
so
right
it probably
after
was
that.
like 22. Maybe it might have even been 21. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like it's been a while.
I assume, jokes aside, plans are still happening. I saw lots of Instagram pictures. It looks like you guys have a brewery
doing
that's coming
stuff.
along.
Yeah, we're doing stuff.
Tell us where you're at right now.
I think the lesson we've learned is when you buy a 90-year-old building and touch it, the local ordinances require you to bring it up to speed.
Right.
As far as all sorts of different things. So I mean, we've been hit with a lot of different surprises that we're just kind of wading through.
I've heard from other people that kind of are in similar situations that the hard part, though, is not the things that you have to do. It's getting all of that sorted out and getting somebody to tell you what you need to do in a timely fashion, and all kind of at the same time to just make it happen.
So what in my experience ends up happening is you get piecemealed stuff.
Sure.
So you don't get the full scope right off the bat. Someone tells you, oh, you need to do this, and you're 6 months down the road, and you're like, oh, wish I would have known that. I would have done that first, but now I know. And so there's been a few things of that, a few things like that. And then just some weird things that have happened where we've got some roundabout construction that just completed. Well, Duke didn't reconnect our gas, so we were without gas, which we didn't figure out until the winter, and we went to turn the heat on and had no gas. So then we had to get Duke out to run pipe and do all this stuff. And now, come to find out, a lot of this has to do with Duke.
I've actually heard that from other breweries too. Like they've had that problem.
So we need a transformer. We need a new transformer because our new service takes more than our existing transformer will carry the load. So they told us that would be happening.
It's probably easier to tell you what's isn't controlled by Duke than
what's
what is controlled by Duke.
But you guys are making progress.
I can see a finish line.
You have an actual you have a space. You've got a parking lot. I saw a picture of that.
It's a nice parking lot.
Do we want to throw an estimate out there of?
We actually talked about this beforehand. We will be brewing beer in February.
For a while, the answer was always 2 months from tomorrow. Like they have the sign here, free beer tomorrow. It's always tomorrow. It's gonna be 2 months from tomorrow.
Right.
But yeah, like Brian said, we should be making some beer in February.
So the biggest hurdles now are out of your control, or they are things that you still have some kind of control over. Is it just Duke? You're just waiting on Duke for everything.
That transfer. I mean, there's a couple things that need to be buttoned up, but that's the biggest piece at this point is getting our new service, so that we are not operating off construction lighting. You know, we've done a lot to the space, and we'd like to see if the electric works in it. That'd be
Turn
nice.
the lights on. Go, oh no, we did this wrong.
Right. Well, we didn't do it wrong, but
because you've been operating off of construction.
yeah.
So.
We've got these. You ever seen those construction trees that are made out of like a 4x4 and a bunch of 2x4s, and we've got 3 of those, and we've been working under that for far too long.
Is there? No, it's still too early to ask if there's some kind of joy in the process. There can't be at this point. Like it just has to just be dragging.
I mean, you have to find joy in the process.
but are you still finding joy in the process?
Sometimes.
I mean, everybody. There was kind of I guess in the last few years, there's been kind of a joke about the industry as a whole, of people going into it because they love craft beer, they love this thing, and then the realization of what all of this is right now kind of hits people, and they're everybody's second guessing their life choices. Are you guys? Is this still fun? Like right now, is this fun?
There's a lot more good days than bad days.
Yeah.
I think the bad days are more wrapped into the unknown that you can't control, but the good days have to revolve around community and just the people that we've come in contact with. So,
and thank God you guys have this space right now that you can still connect with your customers, still have people sitting at a bar that you can kind of commiserate with and be like, man, we're trying.
Yeah.
Like, think about
there.
like all of the people that are trying to start breweries right now that are going through kind of the same stuff, different stuff, but the same stuff, that don't have that they don't have customers yet. Like they're still just trying to get their customers. Like I can't imagine
Get to the point
that,
to have customers.
yeah,
right?
like that getting over that hill to finally be able to like put a beer in front of somebody and you do the craft beer thing.
Yeah.
Like just like, hey, how's your life?
yeah.
because
Become
today
therapists.
Today really sucked. I want to talk to somebody else that also had a shitty day.
I will. I mean, it is still fun. Most days. I mean, there certainly are days that are frustrating. I've also we've learned a lot of skills that we didn't have prior to this. That's for sure.
Yeah. I was going to say, all the stuff that can strip away the joy, I think, down the road will make us feel a lot of pride, just because a lot of the stuff we're doing ourselves. Like we framed out the bathroom, never done that before. Like built the bar, like doing all sorts of stuff that we could have just contracted out. Might have sped up the timeline, but we chose to go this route. So we're dealing with it as it comes, and yeah, we're going to be able to look back and be like, we basically built this entire building, this entire business. So it'll be cool.
Just not the transformer. We're just waiting on Duke.
Yeah, we're not allowed to do that. They told us that. I said, well, if you
don't do
bring
that.
it here,
Yeah, just
I know
drop it
a
off.
guy.
We'll do it.
If if you could go back in time when you guys were opening BCs on kind of day one, would you give yourself different advice of how to do any of this? And if so, kind of, how would you direct yourself in the past?
Let me make sure I'm understanding your question. When we were opening this location,
Yeah.
would I
sure.
give myself any advice? I mean, I'm sure I would. Nothing specifically
'Cause
jumps off.
There's obviously some things that you can't predict, like the change from being a bottle shop to driving into a brewery. I don't think anybody saw some of those changes in the industry happening. I mean, maybe
well,
somebody
happen,
did.
yeah.
I mean, I think that was more a COVID-led
I don't know.
transition.
I don't know.
For us, it was. I mean, COVID is probably the whole reason we're changing what we're doing. I think if COVID doesn't happen,
Montgomery's open.
yeah, I mean, it's hard to.
I don't, but we just keep reading. I keep reading articles about how people are drinking less beer than they did before, which I think kind of factors into where they're choosing to drink the beer and how they're choosing to drink their beer. And I don't know if that's COVID related or if it's just.
I think that's a byproduct of the pandemic. I think there's certainly some people that maybe fall into the category that you're talking about. But buying patterns changed tremendously during the pandemic and then after as well, where you're sticking to one
Right.
source, and that's where the brewery comes in for us. Is we've identified what the source of their buying patterns are, and that's what we're doing is moving into that sector of craft beer.
I just wonder if it was COVID that did it, or if COVID just kind of pushed it and made it happen faster
Sped up
than
the
it was
process.
happening.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably very possible. Which, if that's the case, then at least we got to the point we've got to quicker,
Sure.
right? We didn't have to wait to make the change. It certainly was an event that changed our business.
Right,
And
right.
so you can wait it out and hope that you survive, or you can change and
Accept your fate and move on.
fix the problem.
And keep hoping you survive.
Yeah.
Well, I don't. Yeah.
let's talk about that a little bit, because and I will never be one that says this or writes anything anywhere close to this, but especially this week after 16 Lots announced some of the chaos that they're going through. Everybody loves to talk about some kind of beer bubble and the fact that craft beer is dead and nobody wants craft beer anymore, and breweries are a thing of the past. Do you guys? Is there some kind of thing in the back of your head that's like there might be some kind of truth to this? Like, how are we gonna, like, once this thing is finally open and it's running, are we in some kind of an industry or a business that is slowly dying, or are you kind of on the same page I am, where it's just people wanting to write something that people click on?
Well, there's multiple layers to, like, there's the distro side,
Sure.
there's taproom side, and there's beer as a whole. And I think those are all very different conversations. And we don't have plans to be involved in the distro side, which seems bubble-ish. So with regards to that, that doesn't concern us. But obviously, opening a taproom that people want to come to, they want your product. Obviously, they're still drinking beer, so we're just trying to make a spot that, people are interested in and want to come hang out.
I want to come back to the question with you guys, but I want to kind of piggyback off of that first. Of how do you create a space that is different, that people do want to come back to, that maybe separates itself away from other tap rooms that might be around it, or other tap rooms that are within driving distance for people? How do you make something that you think rises above that?
I mean, I think you do what we've already done, which is you make a tap room that is very community oriented, almost Cheers like in its atmosphere and support, and you don't put your expectation on travel to the brewery to be successful. I think you really focus on your backyard, and you focus on the people that are around you within a 5 to 7 mile radius. I think location is key. I think for us, a massive positive is, you've got the bike trail going right through our parking lot. I think you've also got tons of sports fields right by us where there's traffic constantly and tournaments and people.
Great little frisbee golf course.
Yeah, there's a little frisbee golf course. Like, people are going there and then they're looking for something to do in like intermissions between games or once they're done playing. You've also got Kings Island, which is a massive tourist attraction that brings in people from all over the country. We're less than 3 miles from there. So I think just really kind of focusing on what we do best, which is create good taproom environment, but then leaning into our backyard,
right,
and not needing our brewery to necessarily be a destination for people all over the city. We'd love to have them, but we also realize that's hard to ask somebody from Delhi to drive 45 minutes and be like, hey, you're our customer.
Right.
I don't think that's accurate. I don't think that's.
Well, it's unrealistic.
Yeah, it's not.
Long
It's not.
term.
Well, it seems like everybody for a long time was saying the same things that I hear you saying, but then when you started to see what they were doing, you started to see that wasn't really what they were looking for. Like, they were looking to draw people there. They're looking for like, hey, here's this really cool spot. It's something different. You should come here for this.
I think that's the bubble.
Yeah.
I think if we're talking and we're being honest about bubbles, like distribution and expecting people to drive massive amounts to get to your space is the bubble. I think neighborhood tap rooms, almost pub style beer halls, I think there's tons of room for growth there.
Oh, yeah. I think that if people, and this is obviously my personal opinion, if people really start to look at what's happening in Cincinnati, and you look at places like Gabby's over there in Wyoming with Bocce Brewing, where there's a couple beers on tap, and it's just a little bar restaurant. Like, that's perfect. That's exactly what somebody should be doing in that neighborhood. Not that Gilligan's isn't great too, but right there, it's just perfect. And I don't know why people aren't looking at their community before they're kind of figuring out what they look like. It's people develop this idea of like, I'm going to build this brewery. Where can I put it? And it's like, then they start to figure out where it goes, instead of looking at a spot and be like, all right, now what does this spot need? I'm going to give that to the space and to the people and to the neighborhood. I don't know. It's weird. But,
especially in a city like Cincinnati with so much good beer. Like, not only are you asking
tons of great beer,
not only are you asking somebody to drive 30 minutes, you're likely asking them to drive past 4 or 5 great breweries.
I can almost open the back window and just reach out and get a good beer. Almost. Like, it's getting that good right now that you can just reach out of your window and get a good beer. When that happens, I'm going to be really happy, but it's getting there.
Sure. Yeah.
Shout out to my neighbor. Make some good homebrew for me. That way I can do that. I don't trust my neighbor to homebrew.
Does he homebrew now?
No, I don't think so. I'm just saying I don't trust him to ever do it. He can't even pick up his garbage.
Toilet wine.
Driveway. Who was I talking to about toilet wine? That's a whole thing.
I think if we're talking about advice that we give to ourselves, try not to rent. Jeez,
that's a big one.
I was talking. I don't know if this will give anything. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I don't remember who it was right now. And hopefully this doesn't give away anything that I shouldn't be saying. But I was talking to somebody that was having some delays on opening their project, and one of their big delays was that they changed their whole plan from leasing or renting or whatever to actually buying the property, and that threw a whole wrench into it and slowed everything down immensely. And I told him that I think that's probably the right way to do it.
I think long run, yeah, yeah. I mean, the issues with renting, while it's generally, I guess, a cheaper option, is like you don't actually own anything.
Yeah.
outside of your equipment. And that's really all I get.
And what good is that if all of a sudden you don't have your space in
Right.
Yeah.
And so like even the stuff you're doing to the building and when you're fixing it up and you're putting all this labor and material into the building, like you are not the benefactor of those improvements. Ultimately the landlord is the benefactor
Sure.
of those improvements. And I mean that was a lesson we learned with Montgomery is like we put a lot of money into Montgomery and made that space really cool. And it just, when the lease ran out and the landlord wanted to raise the rate right after COVID, it didn't make any sense. It didn't make any financial sense, didn't make any business sense. We had already purchased the building that the brewery is going into. And so we decided that, that was kind of part of the transition was, well, let's focus on what we own and put our money and build that as opposed to try to save this.
It seems terrifying to me to think about how this whole process has gone for you guys to have from having 2 locations with, and I don't know kind of how the business broke down as far as package sales versus people sitting at the bar drinking. I don't know how all that math works out. But to go from what it was to pull out all of the package sales from here, completely get rid of Montgomery, try to open a brewery, and all of that, that's terrifying to me. And the fact that you guys are able to still make that happen, I don't know if it's testament to your stubbornness as craft beer drinkers, as some kind of brilliant foresight.
We're a little bit crazy.
I don't know what it is, but
I prefer creative.
Just a little bit crazy.
it's a really scary thought, especially when you see that there were delays in everything happening, and the market has shifted and changed probably 4 different times within that period of time that you guys started kind of making all that happen.
I think it's a testament to the community and people that support us here in Liberty. Because without them, I don't think we're capable of doing a lot of those things.
Ooh, absolutely.
So, I mean, I think it's cheers to our patrons that have been coming out for, we're going on 8 years here in March. Yeah. So it's a testament to those, especially here in Liberty, that have really supported us. We were just beginning to build that base in Montgomery.
Well, yeah, you
when
had some
shit
people.
Hit the fan, and
you had some people supporting you in Montgomery that just kind of weren't able to, because of the distance between the two.
Sure.
I mean, we can poke at Truth Beer Pod for changing their podcast location after you guys shut down Montgomery.
They should have still done it there in the parking lot.
They abandoned
I know.
you.
Yeah,
It was,
there you go.
They just stayed. We could have saved it.
They could set up in the smoke shop now.
Truth Vape Pod.
Troop Vape Pod.
I'd listen.
At least once.
At least once. If we take kind of a step back for a minute, and we didn't talk about what we're drinking. We should probably do that first. But I'm
gonna go get another picture of it. I assume we're all drinking the same thing.
That sounds good. Yeah.
I'm not, but I'll drink some.
Okay.
This is we'll talk about it when you get back with it, and then we'll drink a fresh one. For you guys, is craft beer still as fun and as exciting as it was when you got into this whole thing? Well, but before we go there, let's talk about kind of how your journey into this, because it's your first time on the show.
Yeah.
I'm a bad podcaster. We should have done a whole thing at the beginning.
You can clip all this together. Yeah.
Just all editable.
That's too much work.
Just edit.
Yeah, so used to live up by this location. So my wife and I became regulars around the same time, started working at Mad Tree.
Rewind even further than that. How did you get into craft beer? Like, where did that come from? Was there like a moment, or was it just kind of always there?
No, I'd say like Sam Adams seasonals, kind of, and then homebrewing with some buddies, kind of really jump-started everything. And then, obviously, starting to work for Mad Tree was the kickstart of it all, which that happened right around the time that Liberty opened. So we were here frequently. got to be good friends with Brian and Caleb. When Montgomery opened, we just happened to move down the street from that location, so started frequenting there.
Right.
And yeah, just had a friendship. We went down to Cigar City together, just kind of kept talking over the years, and when they started considering this transition, they mentioned it to me, and just kind of the rest is history at this point.
But so you, I'm talking about your craft beer origins, though. Like, do you remember kind of how you got into craft beer? Like, was there like is it wrong to ask how old you are? Is that just a women thing? How old are you?
Don't be so insulting.
I don't know.
How dare you?
36.
So
36.
Yeah, so craft beer is same age as me. That's
What's your origin story?
I'm gonna be 40 this year, guys. I'm afraid.
I won't tell you how old I'm gonna be. I'll be 46 this year.
Well, that tracks. You can look at.
Thanks. I'm looking haggard, boys.
We're gonna go down a whole age rabbit hole here in a second if we start talking too much about that.
Right.
But craft beer was always around.
Yep.
So like, did you have like a moment that got you into it, or was it just kind of always what you drank?
I think it was kind of a slow burn. I can't remember like what the actual first craft beer I had was, but tried something, whether it was like I don't know, like a Shiner Bock or
Right.
Yingling or like something, and it was like, oh, like this is good, and then just kind of kept trying new things, which eventually lead you down that path. And
I have some kind of weird fascination that at some point, like, it's just going to be what beer is. Like, you know, as kids grow up, like, their experience of beer is just going to be craft beer. Like,
Yep.
And then, you know, big beer will almost be like this other thing that, like, then, oh, well, we can drink this cheap shit too. We could do that. But craft beer is what beer is.
yeah, I mean,
I think we're close to it.
the cheap shit though it'll always be that progression, just because I don't know, like you're in college, you're not dropping
I don't know.
$17 for a 4-pack.
But as far as like your experience of beer, like it can very well start on better beer, and then dip into like the other stuff for a while when you start to realize how expensive the other thing is, and then go back to the good stuff. But like, I think that there's a lot of drinkers that are even right now that started out on craft beer and maybe went away to something else that'll come back to it, but that really did, like, their experience of even drinking in general was craft beer because of, you know, dad or, you know, some kind of uncle or something like that, and that was kind of how they got into it.
Well, yeah, I think the transition is like my dad drank the cheap shit
Yeah.
and then got into craft beer. Well, then I got into craft beer because of him. And then
Didn't you guys used to homebrew together?
I would drink beer while he homebrewed,
Okay.
yes.
That's cool.
You watched.
I watched. I supervised. Kind of what I'm doing, you know, in a couple of months. And then I got into shitty beer because I couldn't afford the good beer, and now I'm back to craft beer. So I'm assuming because we drink craft beer now, we'll get our kids into craft beer, but then they'll have to go to cheap shit because they can't afford the good one.
I hope that doesn't happen.
I can't envision that happening.
I'm speaking
Because I'm pretty sure Griffin's going to come around and be like, Dad,
generalities.
could I have a 12-pack? And
I'm
you'd be like,
speaking in
sure, kid.
generalities.
Here you
Yes.
go.
Please don't buy the other stuff.
Speaking of generalities. It's like, as of right now, he's got one beer brand that he needs to be drinking.
I was sitting at a bar the other day, and somebody was talking about cars and their kid who didn't know how to change their own oil or something like that. And like, oh, kids just aren't, you know, they're not into cars anymore. And I was like, oh man, yeah, I think mine is. And he came up to me the other day, and he had just put his jacket on, and he's like, hey, Dad, I got a pocket right here. I'm gonna go put a car in it. I'm like, oh yeah, dude, you go do that. I'm like, yeah, he's a car guy.
Yep.
It's kind of like that
Definitely a
with beer. Beer is, I think that there is a period in your life as a drinker where you just kind of, you mentally shift gears to simplicity because of what's around you and because of what you're doing. And I think that that's always going to be something that people have to kind of go through. but that kind of, I guess that does bring up the question of the light beers that are out there that are craft brands. Is that still craft beer, which is probably a much bigger topic than we need to dive into on this episode.
Short answer, yes.
Whole episode in itself. What are we drinking right now? Let's talk about that, because it is a craft beer podcast, and I think that this is the right button. Look at that. This is some kind of a Pilsner.
It's
right?
Resident Culture.
Oh yeah,
I don't think I've ever
complicated patterns.
I don't think I've ever heard of Resident Culture.
Oh, it's a great brewery in Charlotte.
Here's what's crazy. I walk in here now because I'm focused at the brewery, and I don't know the breweries anymore. I'm
That's
like,
crazy.
It's nuts to me. I'm like, I've never heard of them. Let's drink.
Great brewery.
It's good beer.
From what I've heard, the guy that started this came from Russian River Brewing. So he opened up his own
That's what you
facility.
heard?
Yeah.
Who told you that? Did Ray tell you that?
No, Ray did not tell me that. We'll call him a friend of a friend.
It's good. I don't know that I would call it a. Well, we can get really kind of style picky with this of what makes a Pilsner anymore, what makes different lager styles. But this is a really good beer.
Yeah.
But it's got some kind of earthiness to it.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah. It's good.
I agree. I got nothing to add there.
Nothing.
No, I mean,
nobody else has thoughts on the beer.
I'm not drinking it, so I
like
can't
it.
speak to this beer.
Come drink more Resident Culture.
It's good. My brother used to live down in Charlotte, and I mean, time doesn't make sense, so it feels like it was just a few years ago, and I've never heard of the brewery. Like it's crazy. Like I know that.
I don't know how long they've been open.
Well, I mean, like
Yeah.
and it might have been like 10 years since he was there. That's very possible. I don't know, but like
it's under 8. I know that.
I think about like even Cincinnati. Like when you look at what the craft beer scene is today, and you go back we'll even say 3 years, and you like look at what the breweries that were here were and what they were doing, and then what it is now, and what it will be in 5 years. Like it's just. Everything just changes so fast that like it tracks. Like like if you don't like live in the middle of something and immerse yourself in it, it's easy to like just be surprised constantly at what's going on.
Yep.
How do you stay on top of what is going on, or do you? I guess that's probably a bad question for you guys. I get the impression that the soul of what BC's Brewing Company is a very steadfast kind of neighborhood type of spot. Like at the same time, I know that historically here, you guys are one of those places that does love to kind of chase a couple trends here and there and get some things on tap that people are clamoring for. How do you figure that out?
We're
as far
tormented souls.
I feel like we're able to play both sides at Liberty, where we can follow those trends and not completely divert our business model because of a trend.
So are you talking about bringing in still other beer that is not yours?
Here, yes.
Here.
Not at the brewery unless
Right.
it's an event or something like that. We're still planning on doing if we can get to a 50-50 split on the tap list, that's the goal. But I think that's the identity of the lodge is those unique beers that you can't normally get or are hard to find in 2 places in a 15-mile radius.
I get that,
But that has also changed a lot too.
Yeah, but
right?
I almost disagree with that. That the identity of what this place is has nothing to do with what's on tap. Like I think that it's like something deeper that like this. I mean, you have to have great beer on tap, but I don't know that anybody.
I think it created the
really
identity.
cares.
I think you can say it created the identity here.
Yeah.
The beer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
originally. Which, going back to your previous point, so much has changed since then.
Yeah.
8 years ago, the beer created the community, and
Right.
now it's the community and people that are carrying it through. But the,
Yeah,
the good
I don't-
beer still is like,
Yeah, people still want to drink good beer.
But good beer is a very broad kind of
Absolutely, yeah.
brush. I think that, and I don't know, I don't come here enough to know the people that sit at your bar, but I'm assuming that most of the people sitting up there are regulars. And I assume that if you changed out every beer on that board tomorrow to things that weren't hyped, weren't trendy, that were just good beers,
They would still show up and drink.
they would still
Well,
be here
I
doing
think-
the exact same thing.
I think we
Yes and no.
They might give you shit for
They
it.
might,
but they would come back the next
We've
day.
also built an environment of they trust our
Palate.
judgment on what we're going to put up on tap.
Right.
Right. So they give us, I guess, the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's what we're.
I think they're still going to show up and drink. Though.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think that the beer was the driving force for sure. It would be weird if we diverted away from trying
We-
to find
You can't
the best beer
fill the board up
available.
with all kinds of seltzers and like things,
No.
canned cocktails and stuff like that.
milkshake
People would,
IPAs.
although it would be
yeah.
a funny April Fool's joke. Just
We
sweep
did
it
that
every
once.
tab.
Yeah.
We did that once. The first we opened in March. We did that on
remember-
the April.
Yeah.
And we had them all domestics and like
I love it.
malt.
Colt 45.
I remember one customer, Robert, like you could see the heart, like he hurt from
Were
looking at
they-
the board.
But were they actually on tap?
No. We
Okay,
just changed the board to
so
read
I-
everything. And like
you gotta commit.
he's like, what happened? And we're like, well, the first month didn't work out the way we thought it was, so we just went 100% domestics.
there was one person that just was really loud, and they told us that that's what they wanted. So we figured that our customers were telling us something.
Big shift.
He was hurt that day. He was never
Yeah.
going to come back again.
It's amazing.
And he's been a regular for 8 years now. He's actually our in-house woodworker.
Yeah.
Does a ton of woodwork for us.
So there is a line of what you can put on tap that people will, but it has to be good beer. It has to be something that people can kind of get behind and
For sure.
You know. I mean, and this is probably a very big question, but like when you look at kind of how things have gone, when you look at where things are right now, like are there things about this craft beer scene or this industry or this thing that make you nervous kind of as you head into this next phase? Or do you believe that you've got this figured out, you understand kind of where you guys fit into this bigger kind of puzzle?
I wouldn't say we're like cocky enough to say we have it figured out. I think we're trying to position ourselves where we're just not getting out over our skis. We've learned a lot from both sides of the industry, the production side and retail side. We've had multiple friends open up breweries, learn from them. We're just trying to be reserved in what we're doing, the equipment we're buying. We're not like buying some huge 60-barrel system or something, assuming that 3 years from now we're going to be
Right.
like in 4 states. Like we're just trying to open up, make good beer, and then wherever we go from there,
Right.
it happens. Like let it happen naturally, not have this like grand vision and get in too deep, and then like you start to make decisions that you don't want to make, or
Just trying to survive and trying to figure out something. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But for a while, like with the craft beer boom, like the smart decision was to buy a system bigger than you thought you need because you're probably going
Always.
to grow into it. And, But I don't think that's the case anymore.
Right.
No. I think the biggest thing is just trying to get to a point where the beer and the experience in our tap room will showcase what we're all about trying to do. So
I mean, to say that there's, you're not nervous about a new venture, I think is not wise.
Well, you're lying.
Yeah. I mean, of course you're going to be nervous, but I think we've put a lot of thought and experience into this. Where I think, as Ryan said best, we're not going to get in over our skis. It's better to be more reserved and approach this organically. Right? Like the nervousness is, are people going to show up? Right? That's always. I I mean, anytime I think you open anything brick and mortar, it's are people going to show up? And hopefully we can lean on our reputation and our brand. I don't think that's going to be an issue for us.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe it's because we're coming off of a week that is very strange with, kind of going back to 16 lots, which is...
I said I wasn't going to talk about this.
For anybody that doesn't know kind of the whole backstory there, go back to last week's episode of the Weekly Pint where we sat down and we talked to them kind of about what's going on. But it's a brewery that had another location. They had their original location in Mason. After COVID, they decided to expand and open up a location down in Newport. And that same question is, in my opinion, the thing that is killing or killed that location was that people didn't show up. And like trying to understand why people didn't show up is, I think, hard for everybody to kind of figure out. Like it's a...
I mean, it's kind of like throwing darts, right? Like it's probably not just one thing. It's probably a multifaceted, layered question, and I don't know what the answer there is. I don't know that they necessarily know what the answer there is.
I know they don't know the answer, or else they would have fixed it, or gone somewhere else. Like I think that it's a very hard thing to predict. And like any time that somebody is opening up, you think and you hope that whatever neighborhood or whatever spot you're going into is the perfect spot for a brewery. This spot needs a brewery. And like I
mean, those guys aren't dumb. They knew what they were getting themselves into. They did their research, and for whatever reason, it's not doing what they want it to do. And it's a part of this industry. It's part of business right? in general.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And there will always be more variables than any of us will ever know sitting at this table. So like it's hard to even like every business has different financials.
Well, that's what I do. I speculate. That's kind of my thing.
You should do a stock show.
No.
Well, I think the stock looks good.
Speculation with the gnome.
I feel like
penny stocks.
I feel like that's how you get some kind of lawsuit or something.
No, you've got to give the advance notice. Like, I am not a financial guy. This is not advice
my
to
thoughts
buy.
and opinion.
But I speculate.
Just guesses.
Does 50 West still do penny flip?
They don't.
You could do penny flips and penny stocks.
What a great show that would be.
I kind of miss those nights at the brew pub with penny flips.
What do you?
Let's
bring penny flips back.
I don't think it's 100% legal.
Oh, well, that's a good reason not to bring it back.
I think it's a big reason why it isn't around.
If it's a gray area, then we're in business. But
I think you just have to.
It seems gray to me.
I think it seems. I don't know.
As long as you're charging something for the product.
No, I think you have to charge everybody the same price for the product.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah.
Oof. I know that's true for discounts.
What about discounts? What about discounts?
You can't do discounts for like certain people that flip something on a coin. You can do mug clubs, sort of, because you're not charging different for a beer. They have a different glass, and they only have that glass because they have that glass. And then
is that real?
I'm pretty sure that's the way it works.
Dude, we started a mug club 8 years ago. That's the first time I've ever heard that.
I'm pretty sure that's why why you're able to do it.
No one ever told us we might not even be able to do it.
You couldn't say, hey, if you're a member of our mug club, you can come in and you can get a pint, and then after you finish half of it, we'll top it back off for the same price. I don't think you can do that legally.
Huh.
Because you're giving them more beer in the same glass. It's a weird thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think, and I'm not a lawyer, and
this is not
speculation.
This is not legal advice.
Disclosure here.
When you look at breweries that have opened in the last, we'll say, couple of years since you guys started kind of thinking about this idea, what are places that you think have really kind of nailed it and done it right here, locally, or maybe not? I mean, anywhere.
The first one that comes to mind, I guess a recent opening. I don't even know how recent they are, but Third Eye. I think Third Eye nailed it. And I've not even. Is there Hamilton Place open?
Oh yeah,
I've not been there yet. But I think their place in Sharonville did a really good job. The beers are good. The food's great.
But I think they're interesting because I don't know that there's like a don't know. There's like a neighborhood around them or like a spot that like people are like, oh yeah, this is my
There
neighborhood
is,
brewery.
right?
I mean, there
always
is
neighborhoods around
there
you.
is, but
the
it's
one in Blue Ash? The one in
That's
Blue Ash or the
Sharonville.
one,
Is
or
it
the
Sharonville?
one in Sharonville?
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you
Yeah.
got the convention center right
Well, you
across
got
the street.
Glendale.
Yeah, I don't know. There's anybody living there though.
Well, no, but I mean, like they do a lot of things.
but I'm
Go
saying like,
to Third Eye the day they do that Horror Hound, and just sit there.
That's probably a fun day.
It's not a fun day.
It's really weird when you don't know what's going on, and people
Yeah.
just start walking in with blood on their face.
Are you okay?
Do you need the hospital?
but they are fascinating. That like I think they definitely moved into a spot that needed a brewery, but not because of the same reasons that some other places
sure.
like look at. Here's our kind of core community thing.
There's no cookie cutter model. I mean, for a while anything worked, and now that's not the case. So it's not that stuff can't work anymore. You just have to be a little more tactful and targeted.
What about for you? What are places that you've seen that opened up that you thought they really nailed it as far as? And we'll expand on that. It doesn't have to be like that they nailed it because they got the right spot or whatever. Maybe the beer is great. Maybe.
So Esoteric, Brian's a good friend. Opened at like a terrible time. Started COVID.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Obviously, like had to pivot business model, sell a lot of packaged product. Through the whole thing, they're still just pumping out awesome beer.
I took my kids there for the first time.
Yeah.
Because that's not like when I think of Esoteric, it's not like the place that like I'm gonna bring my kids and we're gonna hang out and we're gonna drink some beers and our kids are gonna play or whatever. Like I would not take my kids there normally, but I did because we were close. And we're gonna stop in. We're gonna grab one beer. I need to get a 6-pack to go, and then we'll go. And my kids walked in, both of them. We sat on the couches. They both took their shoes off, flopped up on the couch, pulled out their little devices, their iPads or whatever, and we're just completely content with just being there all day long. we can't hang out here all day, guys. We got things to do. But my God, like they were just so happy being there. It was comfortable. It was quiet enough that they like didn't get like hyped up. They wanted to run around and they just wanted to chill and wanted to hang out. And I think that is. Maybe underappreciated about a space like that is it changes how people interact with the space because the space is already a certain type of vibe.
Right.
Sometimes you walk into a brewery and if it's busy and it's exciting, like you get hyped up and you start to act different and or your kids or whoever is with you start to act different. And then there's those places that are just kind of chill and you just want to sit back and just kind of enjoy your drink and I think that's cool about Esoteric is it creates that different vibe.
Yep.
And their beer's awesome, so that helps. Even if it wasn't, I would still go there. I love it that much.
Right.
My wife and I had a really good time at Fabled as well. Fabled was fun.
Fabled is cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
We
It
were
was a good
driving
space.
back from Lexington, and the space is very interesting. There's always something to look at in there.
Yeah.
Like you could pick different things out. The beer fits them very well.
Yeah.
Because it's like potions, right? Like, and they're fantastic for what they are.
Mm-hmm.
We had a great time at Fable. For a random stop in, I think we probably had 4 or 5 flights, and it was a great time. We had a blast.
I've had a good time at Fable too. Yeah. The mead, man, I want to dive into that mead so much, and like it's just
Brad's amazing. Yeah.
How am I going to drink this and then still get back home?
Little bits.
Yeah.
Well, if you share a 2 ounce with another person, it's only 1 ounce.
I'm never with another
Well,
person.
and they've got
Nobody wants to drink with me.
the session meads too.
I got a crowler this session.
Their session meads are still like 9% or something.
The one that I had was like 6.
Yeah, I was going to say the one I had
Okay.
was like
6 is
5 and a
6 is
half.
a little. That's
more
good.
It's
doable.
doable.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
doable.
In a 4 ounce
Mm-hmm.
serving.
What about you? Places that you think have done something really right, or nobody, if that's your answer.
Well,
Everybody's
yeah,
screwing it up.
nobody off the top of my head as far as kind of brand new. I mean, the fretboard space in the Factory 52 location
That's new.
is great for that area. I think they fit into that but that's more of a like you lucked in, or not lucked in. You got a good opportunity to be in a space like that.
But that can go either way. Like sometimes you get a space like that and it's awesome, and sometimes you get a space like that and then there's just nobody there.
Yeah,
it's like then you are there.
Yeah, then you're just kind of treading water. I think their model will work well once those apartments are.
Oh yeah, I think it's already. I think it's, and I obviously again don't know everything. It seems like it's doing. It seems like it's doing okay. From every time I've been there, it seems like there's enough people there that it can sustain what that is.
Yeah, there's enough. There will be enough walking traffic in the summer to maintain that place.
Let's go down a whole different road for 1 minute. Let's talk about tap rooms that, as I call them, the invasive species. You guys love other breweries here, too, because that's part of what this place specifically is, bringing in some of those other kind of hyped things and stuff that that people are talking about. There is definitely something happening where some of those brands then decide to just open up a tap room, and sometimes they kind of trick people into thinking that it's a brewery, a local brewery even. And how do you guys feel about that? How do you think it...
Can you give me a...
Brewdog is the easiest one. I mean...
Well, Voodoo's opening up.
Voodoo's open.
Mitchell's.
I just heard that.
Mitchell's Fish Market?
There's the other
there
one
downtown?
Yeah.
Yes.
There's one downtown, and then there's the other one that they asked me not to talk
is another
about.
good example.
Highwire.
Factory 52.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them around. West 6th has a
North
shipping
High,
container.
would that count as one of them?
They're all gone now.
Well, yeah.
though. But they would.
Okay.
Yeah, all of those closed.
How
here.
do I feel about those?
How do you feel about them? How do you think it changes people's perception of what craft beer is, or does it? How does it affect all of this stuff that's going on?
I mean, my gut reaction, not putting a ton of thought into it, is I don't know that it changes anybody's perspective on what craft beer is.
Okay.
Especially local. I feel like that they're. Well,
do you think that the
I'm
majority
assuming.
of people do know? That's my fear. Is I think people they'll and this is not a dig at anybody. We'll throw BrewDog as the example because I hate them. There are a lot of people that look at BrewDog and put that into the same category in the same bucket as BCs Brewing Company or as anybody else. I think so.
Do you?
I mean, technically,
Yes.
they're an Ohio brewery now.
They are an Ohio brewery.
They're an Ohio hotel.
They are semi-local brewery, I guess, technically. But so maybe they're not the best example, but
I think they were answering a question of how do we get fresher beer to the States, and that was their answer, is to open up a second production facility in the States. Stone did it.
Yeah,
it didn't last, obviously.
I'm not talking about the actual
Yeah.
production. I'm talking about the tap room that's in Cincinnati that pretends like it's a brewery. It technically is a brewery. They're operating under a brewing license, even though they've never made a drop of beer in the space. It's a weird kind of. It's different than what it always used to be.
I think we're actually going to fall in that category.
Yeah, I think Liberty ends up being that because we're gonna make very limited beer here.
Yeah.
Will you actually make something here?
We will, but
yes.
I mean,
Okay.
don't expect.
Don't
a
expect
lot.
a 5-barrel
Our
batch.
bucket in the back,
Right.
and that's what we
No,
made our
it's
beer in.
bigger than a
No,
bucket.
But I don't have an issue. And maybe I should.
I think that
maybe I'm drawing some kind of weird line because they're outsiders.
So
I think it depends on the
Yeah, I think
experience.
that's the way you have to. Unless you're going to dedicate a ton of space to.
but there's a
production.
communication thing too. Like there's like
So maybe that's
it. Maybe
part
it's
of
like
it.
the pretending like we make beer here even though we don't make beer. Maybe that's what bothers me.
Do they
I
though?
don't know.
Do they pretend to make beer there and not make beer there?
I think so. I don't know.
So when we
Feels like they
switch over
pretend.
here, come here and see if you get the vibe that we pretend to make beer here.
Okay, I will.
Because
Yeah, 'cause, this
I'll make
is
a video
I
about it.
think it might feel like that.
Maybe.
And
Are you going to put fake tanks along the wall
no,
to make it look
no,
like?
no. We're just gonna have a rotating digital picture frame of tanks.
It's a TV screen that's a video. And here's our brewer, hard at
It's
work in the
actually
back.
a live green screen.
Yep. mean, you laugh. That's not a bad idea.
It's
though.
not
It's
a
actually
bad
pretty
idea.
Put a
good.
camera on this guy over.
Right? Nope, he's
Yeah.
back there right now.
Yeah,
No,
he's-
you can't
no,
talk
he's in
to
the
him.
back. No,
He's
No, you
busy.
can't see him.
Clearly,
He's busy. Obviously.
It's the same
I-
12-hour
yeah.
loop.
So don't put a video on him, a live video. Is he peeing in the trench drain?
I mean, I think when it comes down to it, they're not doing anything illegal. Like, it's up to the consumer at that point. Like, you can't control. Like, if they're
But does
doing
it-
something and the consumer likes it and chooses
Sure.
to go there, that's more your problem than it is theirs.
But does it change the relationship with craft beer to the drinker? I think is where I get kind of like it used to be that like there still are a lot of people that go to craft breweries because they feel like they're going to the place that makes their beer. I'm connected to it. Like there's this drink local thing that people feel like they're doing, and I feel like that's getting kind of not that that's important, which I know for some people it is. So don't send the emails, but like I feel like it's just getting confusing, and I think that some people just don't know what they're walking into.
Yeah, and I don't think it's something you can tell the consumer. I think if you stick to your virtues, are proud of what you do, hopefully you create a vibe that when they come to your place, they slowly start to realize they feel differently there
Right.
than when they walk into some new shiny cookie cutter place.
Right.
I mean, because those places have always been around, like whether it's like a BJ's or there was stuff
Yeah.
before that. Like,
The BJ's is a great example
Yeah.
because they did have those fake tanks.
yeah. So
Or
yeah,
do,
Those
I guess.
those weren't real?
I mean, they were actual tanks, but they didn't have anything in them. They supposedly made root beer there once.
Well, that's
I
disappointing.
don't even think that was real.
It's just bargs.
But like Rock Bottom, like they did brew there. Like it was still like it was a brew pub.
Yeah.
Like it was like so there were like chains that did actually make their beer there. I don't know.
I think it's a way. Man, I'm kind of struggling with this because I see both sides of it.
I think and this is my opinion as a beer drinker and whatever other things that define me. But like I think that if you are going to if you're going to operate a tap room that feels like it's a brewery, you should at least make something. And I don't care how much you make. I don't care how big it is. I don't care how often you do it.
How do you feel about if we were to, or if someone were to just age?
I like that.
Barrels?
That's fine.
Is that,
I like
is
that,
that
and
an
I
acceptable?
yeah, and like and communicate it like, hey, this one
This
on
is
tap
our-
right here. This was aged here.
is our
Like,
barrel program.
Yeah, I like that.
I think it also depends. Like, are you invested in the community that you're moving into? Like, if you're an out-of-state brewery, you open up a spot here. Are you actually trying to contribute to the community? Are you like doing work? Are you like actively involved, or are you
Right.
just
a
opening up a
parasite,
building
right?
and just sucking the money out?
Yeah.
There's a big
but
difference.
it's like having like a girlfriend online or something that you've never met in person, but she tells you that she loves you, and she actually is just talking to a bunch of guys and draining money out of everybody's accounts.
Yeah, you're a
It's
parasite
kinda-
at that point, right?
It's kind of like that, and that's how I feel about some of these places.
I mean,
is
I
that
But
they're
it's
just-
not the.
they're-
But at that
they're
point, it's not the girl's
pretending.
fault. Like,
Really?
I mean, you got to fall for it.
I think it's the girl's fault. I think it's 100% the girl's
We've
fault.
gotten really deep.
No, but
Let's
like,
talk
and-
about
and
catfishing.
The girl is Brewdog.
So really, it's Brewdog.
Brewdog is just the example I
Um,
want to because they're easy to pick on because.
Yeah, I mean, so from a business perspective, like I think it makes a ton of sense because you can grow your brand.
Yeah, but
I don't.
I'm a-
Are
but, like,
you
I'm a-
doing it? Do you think Brewdog is being dishonest? Because that's what it
Yes.
sounds like.
yes. And again, we're a bad example here in Cincinnati because right up the road in Columbus, they are making the beer.
Right.
So Cincinnati is not a great example.
And they're
for
making a
Brewdogs.
shit ton of beer out of Columbus,
They're
right?
making everything.
So of course it makes sense if I've got this massive facility, I'm going to use that to provide my other tap room or brewery
sure.
beer, right?
But I think I'm.
What
of
about
the belief
platform?
Platform's a good example
Are
too. They never brewed a drop in Lacoba down there.
I never made it there.
It was fine. It was a good bar, but
It was a bar by IKEA.
they pretended that it was a brewery, and like I just can't get behind that. It feels like you're catfishing people.
Okay. So
I think it's the
take
girl's
note.
fault.
Liberty is not a brewery.
Or the guy, if you're anybody.
We are a tap room that produces an occasional product.
Again,
For BCs Brewing.
That's why it's the
gets
lodge.
back to the consumer. Like most of the places, they open a space. It's called blank brewing company. So that off the rip infers. I don't think they're like outwardly trying to deceive people. So at that point, I think it's up to people to whether it's ask the questions or.
There are some places that do it well and some places that I think don't. And I came from Mad Tree. Mad Tree does it great. Like when when you go to the alcove, it doesn't say that it's the Alcove Brewing Company. Like it doesn't, like it's not branded that way. They let you know that yes, we make this beer, but it's not made here. We're not making the beer here.
But I think that's a different example because they specifically opened the alcove as a separate entity, whereas like Highwire Brewing Company opens up in Factory 52. They're not. I wonder if that's part of the process that it has to stay under that umbrella. It can't like.
Here's the big question: is the alcove? And I don't want to call Mad Tree out here, but like, is the alcove operating under a brewing license, or is it under a separate liquor license?
I think it falls under a production license. Yeah,
I think so.
Because I think they do something there. You have to do something there if you're going to fall. Well, I mean, everyone's looking for ways to skirt the issue, right?
But is it? I don't care how you skirt legally and get your things to make it make sense. I just care about how it's communicated to the consumer, but I think Mad Tree does a great job.
Yeah, I don't think they're communicating that. Hey, we make this here.
Yeah,
right?
And I think there are some places that want you to feel that, and I don't like that. That's all.
I'm glad we could work you through that.
Yeah, I need a minute, guys.
You want to go up to Columbus for a hotel stay at
have some more
brewery?
I actually. That might be happening very soon. I think we're gonna.
We should
I think we have a
back.
trip coming up.
We should do a podcast from there.
And if you're, well, there will be. I think that if
I'm in
if
the
you're
devil's lair.
if I'm going to Columbus, and I'm going to stay there, I think I have to stay at BrewDog, right? Like it's one of the only breweries that has a hotel also as part of it. Like
I've been there many times. I've never once stayed at BrewDog. Honestly, I've never been to BrewDog up there.
Don't do
I've been there
the beer bath?
No. Well, do that.
Sounds
no,
fun.
the keg in the room. There's not a keg in the room. It's just a growler that they throw in a little kegerator.
Oh, like one of those little...
Wait, do they call it a keg in a room?
I don't know if it's labeled exactly like that.
They are
but
nothing
it's
but
kind.
liars.
It's
What
the
defines a
wording
keg?
is a little confusing. The wording was a little confusing when
learning
I did it the
things.
first time. Yeah, the shower beers are great. I mean, that's a nice cold beer and a hot shower.
Remember when there used to be a Facebook group
For
shower
hot
beers?
showers? Oh yeah, geez. No
If you-
spank you.
the good old days of craft beer.
Look how far
Unfollow.
we've come. If you guys want people to know something about BC's Brewing Company that you think they don't know, is there something?
I don't know.
I mean, we'll definitely talk again once the doors are open.
We're probably wrong on the opening date.
Of course
know
you
that.
are.
Most likely.
2 months from tomorrow.
Forever.
Carry the one. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're excited to bring like some old school craft beer events back. Brews in the Burbs is something we're planning again, and now we have a space where we can host it ourselves. So look for that kind of stuff.
Flavortown Fest will be back.
Yeah, we want to do Flavortown again. Like, there's just we're really excited to get back into doing some of those really cool things that we used to do. That like our hands have been tied to do some of that
Right.
stuff more recently.
Right.
I think we're trying to open a brewery that feels like what breweries were 10 years ago, and just have as much fun as possible with it. Just, yeah.
I'm all about that. I mean, like, there's everybody that I talk to that has been drinking craft beer that long, just kind of misses something about it. And it's hard to put like a finger on the thing that it is that people miss, but they miss something about what craft beer was. And if you can find a way to figure out what that thing is and bring it to
Well, if you
your
like
space,
bathrooms with crooked walls that were built
do
by
love that.
a couple guys that have never done
I
it
do
before,
love that.
you're gonna love our space.
Don't bring a level.
Yeah.
bring your own transformer because they don't have one.
It's intentionally dark in here.
It's a vibe. So bring your own flashlights.
It's a vibe. It's such a vibe. I mean, during the day it'll be fine. We got windows.
Lots of mirrors and things to get light in the places that they need to be. I'm excited, guys. I think that as craft beer drinkers, I think you guys get me, and you get what I want my craft beer to be, and what I want my spaces to be, and what I want the vibe to be of those places. I think you get it, and that makes me excited for what you're able to do.
We did this for you.
Just gotta get the doors open, guys.
We're
Come on.
trying. We're trying. Maybe you could come supervise and like.
You don't want that. I've my bar in my basement, which is not. There's no transformer work needed. Like, it's pretty basic. It's been under construction for probably 15 years at this point.
You're nailing
It's just
it. You're
always under
nailing it.
construction. So you don't want me to supervise. It's not even a front on the bar. It's just a piece of. Yeah, it's terrible.
It's amazing what you can do with plywood.
That's right. There's a lot of plywood.
We've been using the same sheets over and over and over
A
again.
lot of screws.
Resourceful.
In the meantime, if you guys want to support BCs and you want to help this brewery actually happen, come up here to Liberty. Come up to BC's Liberty. Sit down. You probably it's going to be hard for you to find a seat at the bar unless you get here early, because regulars flock into this place and always hang out at the bar. It's like Cheers. It's the spot where
it's awesome.
People come when they want to sit and they want to hang out with people that get them from kind of a deeper level as a drinker.
Oh, we do have what's that? We've got an Abraxas event coming up.
yeah.
Event.
Yeah, we've got 3-year vertical of Abraxas from Perennial, and then
What is the date on that?
February 3rd. And then we've got a vanilla bean.
You look like you were questioning that.
That is
date.
this
Is that
week,
right?
guys. When this post
Next Friday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
This
Friday when
Friday.
the pod release.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
We're in the
Yeah.
future.
This
Living in the
Friday.
future.
Yeah.
Don't come next Friday.
This Friday.
They're probably gone. But this
come
Friday.
here. No, still come next
Yeah.
Friday and
look
drink
for
too.
'em, but
Yeah, so it's
Ask about
3-year,
them. Ask how it
3-year
was.
vertical. We've got some handouts coming from the brewery. That took a little bit of doing to try and get, because there's not actually a rep for Ohio
Sure.
from Perennial. And then a vanilla bean Abraxas from this year and a bomb Braxis from this year, which is a collab with Prairie Artisan
Right.
Ales. So
that's
yeah,
coming
pretty
up.
pretty stoked about that one.
Yeah. And if you want to get like a kind of a sneak peek on our philosophy on beer, we have a couple collabs on tap here. We're fortunate enough to brew one with Mad Tree and Rheingeist.
Right.
They were on tap at both Mad Tree and Rheingeist. I don't know if they still are, but come up, check those out. Push Envelopes and Montero. We got another one coming out here in a couple weeks with Sonder, so super excited about that.
Oh, score.
So
What's the one that's coming up from Sonder?
Sonder's a Spruce Tip IPA.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
we don't have a
sign me up
name
for that.
yet, though. Or do we?
we might have come up with one on Friday, but we probably forgot about it.
What about
No, I wrote it down.
Still Tippin' from Mike Jones?
Like,
Who?
Well, guys, thank you very much. I appreciate you sitting down and hanging out with me, and I'm excited to see what you do.
Good chatting, them.
Why do we get really loud all of a sudden?
Always a pleasure.
Don't know.
Is there some outro music? There we go.
It's coming.
That's what she said.
You can't say that anymore.
Why
No,
not?
that's fine. That's fine. I think everybody can still
Canceled.
do their
It's
thing.
one of my favorites.
We'll be back next week. I don't know off the top of the head who we're talking to, but I know it's on the calendar. I know I have another show, so stay tuned for that. If you like the show, you can support it by going to thegnarlygnome.com/support. I appreciate you. Cincy Brewcast, the voice of Cincy Craft.